Welcome to the Deep Dive. Ready to explore some seriously cool science?
Always.
Today we're diving into the world of AI and food science.
Sounds delicious.
We found this article about researchers at Penn State who developed something incredible.
Oh, yeah.
An AI-powered electronic tongue.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Seriously. Imagine knowing if your milk's gone bad or your coffee's perfect, just like that.
It would change everything, right?
No more guessing games.
No.
So how does this thing actually work?
Well, at its core, it uses a graphene-based ion-sensitive field effect transistor.
Okay, I think you lost me there.
Sorry. Imagine a tiny sensor, super sensitive to chemicals in liquids. It's built on graphene, which is like this super thin, strong material.
So it's like a super taste bud.
Exactly, but way smaller. And here's the kicker. This sensor's hooked up to an AI neural network, like its own little brain.
Whoa, so a high-tech taste bud with a brain. Then what?
They trained the AI using all sorts of liquids, like teaching it to spot the difference between spoiled milk, good coffee, even different rinds.
Like a digital sommelier.
Exactly.
But the crazy part is, they let the AI figure out its own way of assessing things, and its accuracy jumped from 80 to 95%.
Isn't that amazing? It actually did better than when humans set the rules.
So the AI is a better taster than us?
Yeah.
Mind-blowing. But how do we know what it's thinking?
Right. Good question. They use something called Shapley additive explanations.
You're going to have to explain that one.
Okay, think of a chef making a dish. You want to know how each ingredient contributes to the taste, right?
Yeah.
Shapley explanations do that for the AI. They show us which factors it considered most important when making a decision.
So we can see the AI's thought process.
Exactly, like decoding its secret recipe for identifying stuff.
Now that's cool. Food safety is an obvious application here. But you mentioned this could be used in medical diagnostics too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What kind of possibilities are we talking about?
Well, imagine a quick test that could analyze your saliva or a drop of blood and detect early signs of disease.
No more needles and biopsies.
Potentially. And because the sensors don't have to be perfect, these tests could become way more affordable.
Now that's a game changer. Early detection is key for so many diseases. But let's go back to the AI for a sec. This idea that it worked better when it set its own parameters. Why is that such a big deal?
Well, it challenges this idea that AI needs perfectly labeled data to learn, like we have to spoon-feed it every detail.
It's like we assume it needs those flashcards to get an A+ Vic.
Yeah. But this shows that sometimes a little messiness can actually help AI learn better. By letting it explore the data on its own, it uncovered patterns we might have missed.
Like giving it a puzzle without the picture on the box, and it makes something even more amazing.
Exactly. It highlights how powerful AI's learning abilities are. Who knows what else it could discover if we give it more freedom to learn.
It's exciting and kind of scary at the same time. This research is really pushing the boundaries of what we thought AI could do.
Oh, absolutely. We're just scratching the surface of what AI is capable of. There are bound to be even more surprises as we learn more.
Speaking of surprises, you mentioned the sensors don't have to be identical for this to work. Seems like a small detail, but you said it has huge implications. Why is that?
You see, making thousands of perfectly identical sensors is really hard and expensive.
Like trying to bake 1,000 cookies that are exactly the same sounds impossible.
Right. But they found that the AI could actually compensate for slight variations in the sensors. It analyzes the data as a whole and still gets accurate results.
So like a few wonky cookies don't ruin the whole batch. The AI gets the big picture.
Exactly. It makes this technology so much more practical for real-world use because we don't need to strive for absolute perfection in every single sensor.
That means we could actually use this tech in things like food production and healthcare without breaking the bank.
Exactly. And it has bigger implications for AI development, too. It shows we don't always need perfect data or hardware to get amazing results.
So it's not about being perfect, but about being smart enough to work with what you've got. Kind of like us humans, right?
Right.
We're always adapting and making decisions with imperfect information.
I like that. It suggests that maybe the future of AI isn't just about mimicking us, but about embracing the messiness of the real world.
We've covered a lot today, from how this electronic tongue works to its potential in food safety, healthcare, and even what it tells us about AI itself. But before we wrap up, there's one more thing we need to talk about, the ethics of it all.
Yeah, that's crucial. With any powerful tech, we need to consider the ethical implications.
Like giving someone a powerful tool, we got to make sure they use it responsibly.
Yeah.
So what are some of the ethical questions we should be asking about this AI-powered electronic tongue?
Well, one big question is access and equity. If this becomes widely used in healthcare, for example, we need to ensure everyone can benefit from it, not just the privileged few.
Absolutely. We don't want to create a system where only certain people can access these advanced tools. It's like with any new technology, it can either widen existing inequalities or help bridge the gap. It all comes down to how we use it.
Exactly. And we also need to consider the potential impact on jobs and industries. If this tech can automate tasks that were previously done by humans, what happens to those workers? We need to think about retraining programs and support systems as technology changes the workforce.
It's a good reminder that new technology always has ripple effects. We can't just focus on the cool factor. We need to think about the consequences and plan accordingly.
Absolutely. And then there's data privacy. This tech relies on collecting a ton of data about what it's testing. We need to make sure that data is handled responsibly, protecting people's privacy, and preventing misuse.
Especially with sensitive health data, people need to feel confident that their information is secure and won't be used in ways they haven't agreed to.
Exactly. These are just some of the ethical considerations we need to think about as this technology evolves. It's not about stopping progress, but making sure that progress benefits everyone and doesn't come at the cost of important values like equity and privacy.
It's such an important conversation, and it's crucial to include ethicists, policymakers, and the public early on. Technology is never neutral. It reflects the choices we make and the values we hold dear.
Very well said. Ultimately, the future of this tech, and all tech for that matter, depends on our wisdom and foresight. We need to think not just about what we can create, but what we should create.
This has been a fascinating deep dive today, exploring the science, the potential, and the ethics of this AI-powered electronic tongue. It's a perfect example of how technology can both inspire and challenge us, making us think deeply about the world we're building.
It's a world where the line between human and machine, natural and artificial, is blurring. And it's a world full of possibilities, both exciting and a little bit scary.
So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with a thought to ponder. If AI can now taste in ways that surpass us, what other senses might it unlock in the future? And what will that mean for how we experience and understand the world?
It's a question that invites us to imagine a future that's both strange and wonderful. A future where technology expands our horizons and challenges the very limits of our perception.
And as we move towards that future, we invite you to join us in exploring these uncharted territories, questioning assumptions, and diving deep into the ever-evolving world of science and technology.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dives. Until next time, keep exploring and keep questioning.
So we're talking food safety. How will this electronic tongue actually work in like a real-world setting?
Okay, picture this. You're at the grocery store picking out produce.
Always a gamble, right?
Right. But imagine instead of just guessing, you have a scanner that uses this tech. You scan an apple and it tells you if it's actually ripe or if there's some hidden spoilage.
No more squeezing avocados. That's a game changer.
Exactly. And think bigger. What if this was built into food processing plants? Every batch of food could be checked for safety. You could even use it on farms to detect crop diseases early on.
Wow, that's next level food protection.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned medical diagnostics. How could an electronic tongue fit into healthcare?
This is where it gets really exciting. Imagine a simple test, like, a saliva sample or a drop of blood.
Okay.
But it could detect early signs of disease using this tech.
So no more invasive procedures, just a quick, easy test.
Potentially, yeah. And because these sensors don't have to be perfect, the test could be way cheaper and easier to access.
That could revolutionize healthcare, especially for early detection. But let's circle back to the AI for a second. You mentioned how well it did when it set its own parameters for judging things. Why was that such a breakthrough?
It kind of flips the script on how we think about AI. We often assume we need to give it perfectly labeled data to learn.
Like we're the teachers drilling it with flashcards.
Yeah. But this study showed that sometimes letting the AI explore the data on its own leads to better results. It can find patterns we might miss.
It's like instead of giving it the puzzle box to look at, we just give it the pieces. And it figures out a way to put them together that's even more amazing.
That's a great analogy. It shows just how powerful AI's learning ability is. Makes you wonder, what else could it figure out if we gave it even more freedom to learn?
That's a little mind-blowing and honestly a bit intimidating. This research is really pushing the boundaries of what we thought possible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're just starting to tap into the potential of AI. I can't wait to see what comes next.
And speaking of things that surprised me, you said the sensors don't have to be identical for this to work.
Hmm.
Why is that such a big deal?
Well, think about it. Manufacturing tons of perfectly identical sensors, that's incredibly difficult and expensive.
Yeah, it's like good luck baking 1,000 identical cookies.
Exactly. But what they found is that the AI can actually adjust for those little differences in the sensors. It looks at the data as a whole and still gets accurate results.
So the AI is smart enough to work around those imperfections.
Right. It makes the technology so much more practical and affordable for things like food production or healthcare.
That's huge. And what's even cooler is that this has implications for AI development beyond just this one project.
Definitely. It shows that we don't always need perfect data or hardware to get amazing results with AI. It's more about being adaptable and learning from what you have, kind of like how we humans operate in the real world.
We rarely have all the information, but still manage to make decisions. So this AI is taking a page out of the human playbook.
I like that. It suggests a future where AI isn't just about mimicking us, but about being able to deal with the messiness and complexity of the real world.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the inner workings of this electronic tongue to its potential to transform industries and our understanding of AI. But before we wrap up, there's one crucial aspect we need to address: the ethical side of things.
You're absolutely right. Every powerful technology comes with ethical questions we need to consider.
It's like being handed a powerful tool. We have to think about how it will be used and make sure it's used responsibly. So what are some of the ethical dilemmas this AI-powered electronic tongue raises? So we were just talking about some of the ethical challenges that come with this kind of powerful tech. What are some of the big questions we should be asking as this moves from the lab into the real world?
Well, one of the first things that comes to mind is access. Like if this is used in healthcare, we need to make sure it's available to everyone, not just people who can afford it.
That makes sense. We don't want to create a situation where only the wealthy can benefit from these advancements.
Exactly. And we also need to think about what happens to people's jobs. If this tech can automate things that humans used to do.
Yeah, what happens to those workers?
We need to think about retraining programs and support systems to help people adapt as technology reshapes the workforce.
It's a good point. Like any new tech, it can have these ripple effects, and we need to be prepared for them, not just focus on the shiny new gadget.
Absolutely. And then there's the whole issue of data privacy, right? This thing collects a lot of data about what it's testing.
Especially if we're talking about health information.
Right. We need to make sure that data is protected and used responsibly. People need to know their information is safe and not being misused.
Big responsibility.
It is. And these are just some of the ethical things we need to consider as this technology develops. It's not about stopping progress. It's about making sure that progress is ethical and benefits everyone.
So it's not just about what we can do, but what we should do.
Exactly.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive. We've gone from the nitty-gritty of how this AI tongue works to its potential to change industries and even how we think about AI.
Yeah.
It really shows how technology can be both inspiring and thought-provoking.
It makes you think about the future, you know? The lines between humans and machines are getting blurry. It's exciting and a little unnerving.
Definitely. So to wrap things up, we want to leave you with one last thought to chew on. If AI can now taste better than we can, what other senses might it be able to master? And how will that change how we experience the world?
It's a fascinating question. We could be on the verge of a whole new way of sensing and understanding the world around us.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI and sensory technology. It's a world that's constantly evolving, and we're excited to see what the future holds. Until next time, keep exploring and keep questioning.
And keep tasting.